Hey, second and third graders, it's Mr. Wilhorn back one more time to tell you about some more characters in the Ultimate Character Tournament. But before I do, I have to apologize. You see, I set the camera up, and then I'm facing the camera with my back to my room, and I can't see my room until I look at the screen here on my iPad, and my room is a mess. I am so sorry for the mess behind me. I hope you guys' rooms don't look like that. Your classrooms, I'm sure don't. Your bedrooms better not. And if they do, you need to go home and clean them up. But I'm not going to clean right now because I got to tell you about these characters. So let's take a look at the next 4 characters we have in the Ultimate Character Tournament. The first one I have for you is Pinkalicious. So Pinkalicious. One day, she and her mom make a bunch of cupcakes. Pink cupcakes, of course. And she eats a bunch of them, and she's begging, one more, one more, one more. She's not supposed to have one more, but she does. And what happens is she turns pink. I know, amazing. And the doctor says she has pinkatitis. And so she has turned completely pink, and the only cure is to eat a bunch of green foods. So she has to basically eat her vegetables in order to change back to her normal self. But instead, you know what she does? She gets another cupcake, and the added pink turns her red, and she freaks out, and I'm totally not going to tell you what happens next because it's really, really funny. So there are a bunch of Pinkalicious picture books, but there's also some Pinkalicious chapter books, which are pretty cool too. So you can check out both the Pinkalicious books. The next one I've got for you is Fancy Nancy. Now, Fancy Nancy is, as the title says, fancy. Her real name is actually Nancy Clancy, but because she likes fancy things, the book's called Fancy Nancy. Like, for example, her favorite color is fuchsia, because that is a fancy word for purple. And her favorite pen that she writes with has a plume on it, which is just a fancy word for a feather. She even has a fancy word for being fancy. She gets her family dressed up and says they look posh, which is a fancy word for being fancy. Anyway, that's Fancy Nancy, and her family gets all dressed up super fancy, and then they go out to dinner, and then something happens that's not very fancy at all. I'm not going to tell you. You've got to read it. There are several picture books with Fancy Nancy, but there are also some beginning chapter books that you can check out. Poison Ivy Expert. There's even some novels you can read where Fancy Nancy becomes a detective, like in this one. So there's a bunch of different levels of Fancy Nancy books that you can check out as well. They're all pretty funny. Next, I have some books about porcine characters, which is a fancy word for pigs. I got 2 pigs for you. The first one I have is named Poppleton. Poppleton lives in the big city in the first book, and he gets kind of tired of the big city, decides to move into a small town, and so the Poppleton books are about Poppleton the pig in his life in this new town that he has moved to. He has several friends. One is a llama. She lives next door. There is a goat. There is different Poppleton books for fall. There's one appropriate for right now, Poppleton in winter, and there's a bunch of them. He's got great friends, lives in a great town, and he is a funny, funny porcine character. That means he's a pig, remember? Yeah. The other pig I have for you is Mercy Watson. And in this book, actually, Mr. and Mrs. Watson, who you can see up here, they have Mercy. She belongs to them. They call her a porcine wonder. So Mercy Watson is absolutely hilarious. Mercy likes toast with a great deal of butter on it. In this one, she rescues Mr. and Mrs. Watson. In this one, they go to the drive-in theater. Mercy Watson thinks like a pig. Princess in Disguise, where she goes trick-or-treating. Mercy Watson fights crime. And Mercy Watson goes for a ride. Now, interesting, there are several other books that feature Mercy Watson, and they are called, I forgot what they're called. Oh, Tales from Deckawoo Drive. See, now Mercy lives on Deckawoo Drive, and so these are some other characters from the Mercy Watson books. For example, in this one, Mercy Watson fights crime. She catches a burglar in the house, and the burglar is this guy, Leroy Ninker, and he gets his own book, and Mercy shows up in that book as well. Well, again, I'm sorry that I'm living here in this pigsty. Fancy Nancy would not think this is very fancy. Pinkalicious would be very disappointed at the distinct lack of pink that I have in my room, but that's just the way it is. Sorry for the mess, but I'm not sorry about introducing you to a few more great characters. I hope you enjoy Mercy Watson and Poppleton and Pinkalicious and Fancy Nancy, as well as all of the other characters, and I can't wait to get started in a few more days. So we'll talk to you later. We'll talk about our matchups and what we're going to do for voting. And until that time comes, happy reading and happy talking about these characters. Bye.